or what do you think people see as the key grey areas where you look at the IR35 legislation and how that crosses over with statement of work delivery?
Yeah, so I think that kind of you've got your legal perspective on statement of work and then your IR35 perspective. So I think the legal issues around it is the fact we have very little case law when we're talking about contracted out services. And at the moment, we're just very reliant on HMRC guidance as to what it looks like or what HMRC consider it to be. If you look online at some of their guidance documents, they give you all these scenarios of Jill does this, and they try and really simplify it, but we don't have much to go by legislation wise. We only have that guidance that kind of scopes it out. I think there's one case, Tilbury Consulting, I think that touches on it briefly, but yeah, we really don't have much case law or legislation. We've just got the guidance that they've given. So from the guidance that they've given, they just try and spec out the differences. So your kind of labour supply, the client contracts for the workers, they manage the project, they work as part of a team, they might work on client premises. Contracted out services, totally different. They contract for the task or the deliverables, the service provider providing those services manages it, and yet they work on a kind of a services, they usually work on their own premises, etc. So they do try and give you some guidance around it, but that's where the grey area comes from. The legal perspective is we just don't have much to go by, so we just kind of have to take what HMRC have given us and apply it. IR35, so from my point of view, it originally came when we first saw it mentioned when they started talking about public sector changes, and everyone picked up on it straight away and go, oh, brilliant, contracted out services, they're out of scope of IR35, everyone's going to move into this way. And I think HMRC obviously picked up on that happened. They further clarified it with public sector, and then they gave them more guidance around it when it came into the private sector. But the manuals that they've given now do specify that when a person receives a fully contracted out services, they don't need to apply off payroll legislation. I think everyone saw that, oh, brilliant. But if you look into the nitty gritty of it, you do that the off payroll legislation, if there's limited company contractors,
someone needs to be doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to go down the route of when a contractor is working under a statement of work solely themselves directly to a client, because that it is a grey area, and there is some guidance from HMRC that actually says they didn't even apply the off payroll rules because they don't think they apply. So, but we're not looking at that. We're looking at mainly when recruiters are looking at this way of working. So recruiters are going, okay, we are now going to go and deliver these services. We have contracts that work underneath of us, and let's not look here at when you're employing the contractors, because then we don't need to think about off payroll. We're solely looking at a company is delivering services to an end client and they're using limited company contractors. So, okay, I-35 applies because there's PSC contractors. So who is responsible? And it is the service provider providing the services that suddenly then has to consider if it's within scope of IR35 or not. So hopefully that kind of clarifies why IR35 is even anything to do with this. It's because it's really appealing to end clients, because they can go, okay, brilliant, we suddenly, this really annoying piece of legislation that suddenly made us responsible for making these determinations, we don't have to worry about it anymore. We're basically contracting out by just working with that company. Where they kind of muddle your waters is where clients are still going, oh no, but we're still going to do these status determinations.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. If you're going to look at this, which is a viable option, and I-35 does still apply, then you need to understand who is then responsible. You need to trust in your supply chain that they're doing it properly. You do your own due diligence. You're comfortable with who you're engaging with, and trust that that is the party that is then going to do things properly. Because if that end engager is carrying out status determinations, if that middle person that the service provider is carrying out, I don't know, it's just become so confusing. And you can imagine when HMRC look at it and go, well, hang on a minute, we've got status determinations flying around everywhere. And I think they have made it quite clear now with what they're trying to say. So I'm really I always make the point when we're talking to recruiters, if you are looking at this way of working, don't just go, IR35 doesn't apply, great. No, you have to consider that you are probably the end client now in that chain. Therefore, you probably have to be making status determinations. But if you're doing everything properly, it's a very outside of IR35 way of working, isn't it? You know, it really does look favourably towards working outside of IR35.